Sprung to Modern Gods. I'm John.
I am Richard.
Look, he's here. He's in the flesh. If you were a member, you saw him earlier last week. I guess that's technically last week.
Last week.
We're here at California Comic Con in beautiful, quote unquote, Orange, California. And
you don't need to qualify that.
Sorry, I just, and we've been here. We were here last night for the comic swap, and that was fun. Richard sold $8 billion worth of books.
Yeah, freed up a lot of books that I've been holding on for too long.
Yeah, it's been good. And then we've been running around this morning buying some stuff. But first, make sure you like this video, hit subscribe if you haven't. If you want to be a member and join all these new names that are showing on your screen right now, all you have to do is click join below next to the subscribe button. If you're on a podcast platform instead of YouTube, you got to go over to YouTube. Hey, them's the breaks. But we appreciate each and every one of you. You get lots of new content besides our weekly episode if you are a member. So join now. Pitch over. Richard, what should we talk about first? Should we do show and tell what we bought first? Should we talk about, I don't know, maybe CGC?
Ooh, you want to talk about CGC?
So many things. I don't even know if you know this because this broke this morning while we've been here.
Oh, really?
They've now filed a lawsuit against the swappity slappity person. In addition to the earlier lawsuit they filed last week on the employee who was swapping books and allegedly stealing stuff.
Wow.
So they're lawsuit happy in civil court right now.
Yeah. I mean, you've got to protect your, the integrity needs to be protected. And I think the lawsuits are the right move to hold people accountable. But, where's the lawsuits about the issues they have with the cracked slabs?
What do you think? What do you think? Are you submitting stuff anymore?
I'm not. For now, at least. And it's funny, I was selling books yesterday, and I had one person come up and actually examine the case just to make sure it hadn't been tampered. And I've never had anybody do that before.
Yeah, I saw that. And today, it's interesting. We're going to have a couple, at least one dealer come by who has major keys, no spoilers yet. When you see it, you'll see it. Now in CBCS cases, and he is espousing the fact that he is preferring CBCS over CGC when it comes to these keys now. So it's really interesting to see how this will end up. What do you guys think? Let us know. Richard, any other thoughts?
About what?
CBCS?
I have to say, and we'll talk about it, the CBCS cases in person look much better than what I expected them to look like. So I am pleasantly surprised.
I actually kept my word, you guys. I submitted books to CBCS last night here. So I'll let you know how they do. I'll let you know the turnaround times. I'll let you know how they grade them. I'll let you know how they look. Actually, we have a couple people from CBCS here who wanted to be on the show, so we'll see if we can bring one of them by. But first, it's our hot book of the week. Richard, what is it?
What is the hot book
I don't
this
know.
week?
We didn't pull one. But I just felt like saying that because that's the way we do the show. In fact, let's just go to our show and tell screen. Oh, wait. This is the show and tell screen as well. You did not buy a lot today. What's going on?
I did not. I mean, I sold a lot yesterday, and so I am cash rich. But you know what? I looked around and I've taken to heart the conversation we had about downsizing our collection and having core books. So I didn't see any books here that I really wanted to include in that core, and I just don't want to buy a book to just turn around and sell it 6 months later. So I didn't really see very many books. Like the one book that I did see, and I actually didn't even buy it, I traded for, is Cerebus #1. And it's not even a real book. This is the counterfeit Cerebus #1. For those who don't know, they have counterfeited this book, and the counterfeit itself has retained value, which is amazing. It's rare for a fake book to be worth something. But the real Cerebus #1 is incredibly expensive.
Yeah.
So the odds of me getting a hold of one of those are pretty slim. And you know, I'm satisfied with this as I'm looking for books to represent my childhood, and this, Cerebus was an important book in my history, and so I've got number 2 and number 3. I don't have a number 1. This will hold that place for number 1 in case I ever come across a legitimate one that I'm willing to pay for.
So Richard also was possibly in the market. Do you want me to talk about this?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Possibly in the market for a low-grade Fantastic Four number 1, and 2 of them reared their heads. And despite me playing Hot Stuff the Little Devil on Richard's shoulder, he resisted them, and I have to say I'm proud of you.
Well, thank you.
I'm actually proud of you for having the willpower.
Yeah, it was one of the books we talked about coming here that I would be interested in buying. And the price that people are offering, we saw one graded and we saw a raw.
1.0s, 1.5s.
Yeah, they were tape on the spine. They were not high graded by any means. And I just don't need it. And I decided that I didn't want to spend the money now. And I hope that doesn't come to bite me.
What are you going to do with that money, though? That's where I'm proud of you.
Yeah, that money's going in. It's going into savings. Going to go pay off a card. It's going to the financial responsibility. So,
did you hear that?
What is my responsibility?
That was Susie Orman saying, "Yay!" somewhere in Bermuda, where she lives with her wife. I came in. I looked around. I was not feeling it, honestly. Which sometimes I go to shows and I just don't feel it. And then the longer I stayed, the longer I looked, I loosened up a bit. And so I got a few things to show off here. First one is not my book. I actually got this for our friend Forrest in Ohio. And it is Lancelot Link, Secret Chimp number 1. It's a lower grade copy, but I know Forrest wanted this, so I felt I had to pick this up for him, so I got that. And then I saw this, and the price was just right. A1 Comics had this price great. It is Young Men number 17. It's a 3.5. There's a coupon out on the ad page, which I just saw on the back on these notes. That's why you check books, guys. But it was $35, and I got it for a bit of a discount. Great cover. I don't know. I kind of disagree with a coupon being out and having it be a 3.5. So there's that. But I saw this from the same dealer. I did look through this one. I checked the centerfold. This one I looked through. It is Girls Love Stories number 2 with a photo cover. Look at that thing. It's beautiful. It's Emerson Hall on the cover. It's got Toth pencils, Al Kinsler pencils, 4.550. He was asking $195. I talked him down to $170 on this. And I don't know, it's just beautiful, right? Let me take it out of the Mylar. Maybe you can see it a little better.
You're into photo covers.
Well, this was a long-running title, and I never thought I would be able to. I've never seen one in person, and so I thought it was really cool. Right? Nice photo cover.
It's gorgeous, yeah.
It doesn't even have the DC logo on it. It has the Girls Love Stories bullet instead of the DC bullet. All right, here's the biggie. I wasn't going to spend money. Those are, combined about $220.
Right.
I'm doing okay. And then I'm walking around and I look and I see this on the wall and there's a glare. So I can see the logo, but I can't see below the logo. And I'm thinking, it can't be this book that I've been looking for probably 12, 15 years and I've never physically seen a copy of. Not only that, it can't actually be in the CGC slab. It's 7.0 in an old school label. But sure enough, it was Headline Comics number 37, the Jack Kirby photo cover. That's Jack on the cover. being arrested, playing a mobster.
That's awesome.
They were asking $700 for it. I talked him down to $600. Look at that. I love it.
No, that's great. That's the kind of comic that I would be looking for. You know, something that's a core collection, something you've been looking for forever. Yes. It's a perfect time to buy it.
I have never physically seen one before. I hope you guys can see that. It's just amazing. And of course, the CGC notes do say Jack Kirby photo cover.
Excellent.
7.0 off-white pages.
Now, you know, you thinking CPR on that, or are you just going to live with the 7?
I'm going to leave this alone. If I do CPR, I might resubmit it to a competitor. We'll see. Speaking of which, let's take a break here, and we're going to see if we can get a guest over here or two, and we'll talk a little bit about it.
Okay, sounds good.
Beep. And we're back with our first guest, I guess, today, Jamie Newble from Southern California Comics, friend of the show, one of our first guests when we first started way back 4.5 years ago. How's it going, Jamie?
It's going well. How long ago were you shopping at my store?
I started shopping at Jamie's store when I first moved to San Diego. I can tell you the exact day, January 2, 2000. 25 years ago.
And you still talk to me.
I still talk to him. I was, Jamie's store is still one of my favorite stores in all of the nation, period. Not just Southern California. I was a regular pool customer. I sent many of my friends to you. And I tell everybody, if you live in the San Diego, LA area, you have to stop at Southern California Comics. And you can Venmo me later.
I might be in Europe.
Jamie is here because we went by his booth today, and my eye immediately went to two books that are historically significant, and I've never physically, still have never physically seen one, but this is as close as we're going to get. Why don't we hold these up and you tell everybody what these are?
All right, so these are titled Canceled Comics Cavalcade. For historians like me in the comic book world, DC went through what's called an implosion in the late 70s. They canceled over a third of their titles for whatever reason, and had all the material to complete the runs on those titles, but nowhere to print them. So to keep the copyright live for DC's ownership, they went ahead and printed up a limited number of copies of the artwork for the stories, about 35 plus copies in their print shop in their New York offices, and then they distributed these finished products of these stories that got canceled for the people in-house and they could do whatever they wanted because DC had met the demands of copyright law. So they look something like this, but years ago, some of those copies went out on the market. Artists who received their copies decided to sell them, and they sold fairly well, and then they started going up in value. A guy in Chicago managed to get one of these 2 volumes, or each of these 2 volumes, and he printed them up in a limited number of copies, professionally bound like the originals, and went ahead and sold them to a comic book store guy who then in turn sold some of his. And these are 2 of the copies that store owner managed to sell off ages ago. Now they've ended up in my hands.
These are amazing because you go through them. Some of these stories ended up, they were in inventory. They ended up being used, like in Detective Comics when it was $1 book. The Odd Man backup from Shade 9 that was never published ended up there. The Creeper story that was originally meant for Showcase 106 ended up in there. But a lot of this stuff has never been reprinted anywhere until DC started to do some stuff like with some collected editions.
Right.
Yeah.
But these are the only comprehensive completions of entire runs of comics that just suddenly ended. Those that weren't squeezed into a 100-page or 80-page giant were left hanging. We don't know what happened to the original original art for all this stuff.
Right.
All we know is that the art was used after the stats were done and all of the lettering was done. And then this is all we have to show for it, are copies of copies.
Right.
Incidentally, the original 35 now is believed to have been more than 35 copies.
Oh, really?
And they have sold on the internet for 3,000 and up for two of these. These copies of copies, one pair of these sold on Heritage not long ago for $900. These exact ones.
Here is the never printed Vixen #1, the cover. Hopefully you guys can see that, and all the art for Vixen #1. This has never been reprinted anywhere, I don't think, since then. Beautiful Bob Oscar art.
And the volume 1 has a cover page that tells the story here, that explains what's going on from the editor or from the editor. So this is just something unique that I have been in this business as a hobbyist and a retailer for almost 60 years. In fact, I've been doing Comic-Con in San Diego for 53 years. And I have never seen these, the original copies or any of these. I've never seen them. I've never known anybody that had them. Didn't even track them on sales anywhere because they're so obscure.
I remember, and you probably remember this too, coming up, we would get the Overstreet price guide every year, and you'd flip through it, and it was listed. It was actually listed in Bob Overstreet's price guide. They get one of the 35, however many they were, actually went to Bob Overstreet to prove the existence, and you would see this listing, and it would talk about it, and you'd be like, I'll never see this book because it's so obscure, and it only went to industry people.
Yeah, in fact, it's still in the price guide.
Yeah.
It has a brief description, but it is one of those things where somebody went to the trouble of making who knows how many, a dozen, 2 dozen, 3 dozen copies. They added an acetate overlay, but bound it the same way the original copies were done. And now these things have been swallowed up and disappeared. I know, because we didn't know what to price this thing at. We dug, my store manager, Matt, and I, we dug for days. Just trying to get to the end of the internet for any clue as to what to do with them. We learned enough to know that we don't know enough.
Well, I know as a kid, one of my favorite books, The Bronze Age, was Shade the Changing Man by Steve Ditko, and issue 8 ended on a cliffhanger. This includes issue 9. I'm going to read it right now.
All right, well, you're doing that. Let me find something even more obscure. I'm sure there's something here.
Now that cover.
Oh, here, is this Claw?
Claw 13, probably.
Claw.
Yeah.
Is this it? It's got to be.
Yeah. Wow.
It goes on forever.
By Keith Giffen. Keith Giffen had taken over the art.
Trying to find.
Wow.
This is it, right?
Yeah. It looks like this is page 7 of it, so.
Well, I'm in it now.
Yeah, there you go.
I should have my glasses on.
I got
can't even see.
I got you. We've got 5, 4, 3, 2. Wow, this Claw story.
The Claw won't go
This
away.
is because it was expanded to 50-cent extra pages. Wow, Claw's still
Stick
going.
with us, fans. This is a real page turner. Get it?
Literal. There's the splash.
Right.
And here is, there's no cover.
No.
Okay.
Well, that's still him.
That's 13. There we go.
There's
the Black Lightning 13, published cover by Trevor Von Eaton.
Well, here we go from unpublished Black Lightning cover to page 1 of Claw, the Unconquered.
Wow.
So if you look at the spine, you can see they literally took one of these, or another copy or something, and they laid them down on a scanner so you can see the dark here where the page didn't lay flat on the scanner. So you get that shade along here. That's how they simply did this. Scan page after page after page, bound them together. And now you can get these, you can find them somewhere.
Yeah.
I know, maybe it's Southern California Comics.
That poor intern back in the day.
Now the cover here. Was this cover made specifically for?
Yes, Al Milgram and Al Salviak drew these covers, and it's tough to see here. I'll probably put one over here on the screen, but it's all the characters that are featured inside being run over by a delivery truck. And in the second one, they're all being kicked out of DC Comics' office to the unemployment line.
So here's the difference, though, between the original copies, which is redundant, and the copy copies. The originals, the blue page was just blank. Then you had, this would have been the first page. Now somebody went to the trouble of reproducing the first page on the cover and then putting the acetate overlay on, which makes it a superior copy to the copies that were copied by the copy guy in DC's copyright.
We've actually had a guest that owns an original set, and that would be, he was on the show, Paul Levitz.
I know, I met Paul at Con.
Yeah.
He's the guy who ran DC forever.
There it is.
All right.
So now we have physical ones sort of in our hands. Jamie, thank you so much for sharing this with us.
Thank you,
history.
gentlemen. Yeah, this is fun.
All right. Introduce yourself. Tell us who you are, what store you own, and well, not store, but all your handles. And we know you from Blue Chip Comics. But go for
Yes, Blue Chip Comics on Instagram, where we're traders. We are traders on Instagram, but we also buy and sell.
Tell everybody your name.
My name is Nico. Nico from the Blue Chip Comics. We're our traders on Instagram, which is the THE Blue Chip Comic with no S, and we're on Whatnot, eBay,
Cool. All the usual suspects.
the usual.
All right. You're here today because we saw this book on your back wall, and we were fascinated for a few reasons. But show everybody what it is.
It is bats. We're bats about bats.
Batman #1, 4.5. But what's interesting, it's in a CBCS case, the new CBCS case. You are not the only dealer we've seen with big high roller keys in the new case. Talk a little bit about why. What you think. Give your opinions on this.
First of all, I mean, when I first got, I love Batman. Batman's my favorite character by far. Batman 1s, I've never gone wrong with a Batman 1 when we were adopting kids and we needed to come up with some extra cash and take care of some very important things. I sold the Batman 1, and so Batman 1 has always been pretty liquid for us over time, so as a business, it makes sense. But, I looked at this Batman 1, and I knew that it presented pretty strong when I saw it available, and I thought, okay, that's a pretty strong looking 4.5. But what really impressed me above everything else was the brand new CBCS case, no joke. And in fact, that's how we started talking, is because, I was so impressed by the case and how sturdy it was, and, and how it presented, the label. It just really made all the right things in the book pop. And so this was my first big book, actually. I know there's other dealers that have multiple big books in CBCS, but this is our first big book in CBS holder, and it's going to be the first of a lot.
Yeah, you like it, huh?
Oh, I love it. I love it. Everything about it, from the QR code in the back that's, easily printable, where you can just take a quick picture, send someone grader's notes. It's just amazing. It really, for the hobby, as a collector, right? Because everything has to be for sale when you have a family, right? If it's your business. So, but I would rather not sell it, right? But I just love it. In fact, it's motivated me to go look for 2 through 10 in 4.5s as well, and converting them into CBCS.
Really?
Wow.
So very excited about it. And I just picked up I'm not going to mention the name of the other holder, but it was an Erie 1. It's a very valuable Erie 1 I just purchased. I literally shook the guy's hand, and and this is not even a week ago. Shook the guy's hand, and with all that crap that's happening right now, controversy and slabs, I stuck my fingernails, into the holder, and it literally just opened up like it was butter. No joke. There was no cracked corners. I didn't break anything on it. It's still not broken, and the label fell out.
Oh my God.
The book in its inside case. I was like, this is unreal.
Yeah.
Unreal. So
This is a tank.
this is unbelievable.
Richard, what do you think?
We've talked about this new slab. I have to say, it looks better in person than it did, from what I've seen online.
100%.
It just looks solid and well presented, and just more modern than the CGC slabs look.
Yeah, it's interesting. You use the word modern in a Golden Age book, but absolutely, I would agree. It definitely pops.
This new label is a much needed refresh.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. I couldn't agree more.
We are not sponsored by CBCS.
No, neither am I actually. Neither am I. But the truth is, will set you free. So I'm definitely going to be a fan of submitting much higher grade, and I've always been scared of sending higher grade because
That's what we talk about all the time.
right? And so now it's like it's a complete 180, and it's not just because of the stuff that's happening. It's also because the fact that when you have it in your hands, like what you said,
They improved their product. You've got the controversy and all the other crap going on the other side. But if they had not improved their product, it would not make me more liable to use them. And now I am more liable to I just submitted books last night for the first time. So we'll see how my little Claw 3. We'll see how it comes back, and we'll see how long it takes.
and I feel weird saying this, but I don't even know if I should say this on the camera. But we have a CBCS witness that literally works for us at the comic book store when he's not witnessing. I'm not sorry, CBCS, a CGC witness. And so, considering he's a CGC witness, and I'm saying all this stuff about CBCS, I feel kind of
You're going to get your membership card revoked. Nico, remind everybody where they can find you.
We're the Blue Chip Comics on Instagram, the Blue Chip Comic. We love making money, but we love making friends more. So if we can, even if we lose a couple of bucks here and we're looking to earn your relationship long term, come check us out. Just like I met these incredible human beings. These guys have an awesome show. We literally turn them on in the back of our in our shop, so while our employees are working, can hear them as well. And you're one of a few people that we actually do that with. So thank you guys for being who
Hopefully
you
will
guys
not be the subject of an HR complaint. And what's the next show you're going to be at?
I believe WonderCon is the next big one coming up. Anything SoCal, large shows in SoCal, we tend to, it's just a drive away. So
Great. Thanks, Nico. Appreciate it. Thanks for coming on.
Pleasure.
Thank you.
Absolute pleasure.
Okay, we keep saying we're not sponsored by CBCS. So here, introduce yourself and tell you.
My name is Brian Tidwell. I'm a vintage comic grader at CBCS. Happy to be here with the guys to talk about this incredible Batman #1 that we had in the office a few months ago.
So tell me, first of all, about the new case, because we've talked about it on the show.
Yeah.
And this is the first time we've actually physically seen it, and, we were kind of like, we'll submit some stuff and see how it goes. And then we saw this case and we're like, God, we sound like a commercial, but we really love it.
So it's interesting that you say new case, because to be perfectly honest with you, this case is several years old.
Okay.
The only thing that's really new is the label, which is significantly better than our old label. That was our chief complaint that we had from
I'm glad to hear you admit it.
Oh yeah, I mean it wasn't a secret. When I got hired a few years ago, the first thing I said to them is, "Look, we got to change this label." But interestingly, as someone who had no idea how difficult it is to make a new label, that's why it took so long. I mean, we knew it was a problem for a long time, but it took us over a year to get this done. The design of it itself didn't take that long. Believe it or not, the thing that took the longest was getting the programming for the software correct.
Interesting.
To get to all these, each of these is a field in our back-end software where we would type in, this is Batman #1 with, who the artists are, his first appearance of the Joker, et cetera, et cetera. That each of those is a field in our software, but we have to get the software to communicate with the printer to print it out on the label correctly justified, like this is right justified, this is left justified, the font size, and then of course the back labels and the barcodes and all that stuff, right?
So you weren't being obstinate.
No, I mean we knew it was a problem for a long time, and but we also wanted to make sure when we addressed it that we really addressed it, and we didn't just like, they say we need a new label. Let's get a new label out there. We workshopped this. We talked to customers. We talked to dealers. We really put a lot of thought into it. Believe it or not, one of the last decisions we made was whether we should put the grade on the left side or the right side.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, you were thinking of really shaking it up.
We really strongly considered putting the grade on the right side, somewhat to come in alignment with Beckett.
Okay.
Beckett, for those that don't know, owns CBCS. They're our parent company. They're a card grading company, and forever, when their cases come out with the cards, the grade is on the top right corner.
Okay.
So there were some discussions internally if we should sort of get in alignment with them. But basically, everyone who was sort of the old school guy in the comic side, we were like, no, we don't want to do that.
Hold that up again for me. So, it's a weird thing to say about a golden age book,
Yeah.
but this really brings it into a modern sensibility. The new label, it makes it look very sleek and
It's
modern.
like having an Airstream trailer that's been redone, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about this book in particular. You graded this book, didn't you?
So I'm not a finalizer, I'm a grader. So myself and a gentleman named Scott were the two vintage graders at CBCS. So when these type of books come in, we're the ones who do the initial sort of screening and make sure all the comments that we talked about previously are correct. We do the initial screening for restoration, note any defects. We're the ones who put in the actual notes. So when you look for graders' notes, me and Scott are the ones who put those notes in. And then it goes to a finalizer. In this case, for this book, it was Wes Steffen, who's our head grader guy. He's the Matt Nelson of CBCS. And he's the one who finalizes our work, basically, and agrees or disagrees, and he'll do that final restoration check just to make sure we didn't miss anything. In this case, this book has no restoration beautifully.
Great.
So one of the things I've noticed about the new label is the higher grades, the 9/8, 9/9s, 10s, have a different background to them.
Yeah, so we wanted to make it special when you get one of those 9/8, 9/9, 10s, and it's kind of hard to see in the 9/8s, but all those grades on the label are foil. So even the 9/8 grade, it's a foil. It's a black foil. It's actually like a navy blue foil. I begged him to put the 9/9 style foil that we have, which is a gold on dark blue. So this would be gold on dark blue for a 9/9. I begged him to put the 9/8s, to make that the 9/8 because it looks so pretty. But they really wanted to make those 9/9s really pop and be special. And then for the 10s, it's actually a gold foil grade on a black background. And they did that actually to come into alignment with the Beckett 10 card grade. So the most sought after card grade is what they call the Beckett Black 10. And it's a pristine example of a card, even better than Near Mint Plus. So,
Okay.
Yeah.
So, final question for you.
All right.
Is true or false, CBCS grades harder than CGC?
That's a great question. You're going to put me on the spot, right? So our policy, our sort of philosophy, our mantra, if you will, at CBCS is that we want to give the book the absolute best grade that we can and still be correct.
Okay, that's a good answer.
One thing I would love to tell your customers that I'm allowed to share but no one really knows and we don't really talk about is that as graders, we very often will clean books at our desk to grade. So if there's just a little bit of soiling on the back and it's a 8.5 and we're like, if I get this little bit of soiling off and get a 9, I'll just get a little bit of cotton swab and clean it off.
There you go,
It's a 9. I clean books every single day.
Well, even yesterday, you looked at my Yellow Claw 3, and you're like, wait a second, let's make sure this isn't restoration.
Yeah.
You pre-graded it for me before, I appreciate that.
Oh yeah, we're happy to do it.
Well, the camera battery died, so Brian, thank you very much for joining us
pleasure,
today.
absolutely.
And I promise next time I'll bring 3 batteries.
You better.
All right, thanks everybody. Well, what do you think? Is this it?
Yeah, this is it.
All right, we will catch you guys next time. Thanks for joining us. Richard is back to Cleveland tomorrow morning, afternoon-ish.
Yep.
We'll see members on Wednesday and Friday, hopefully. Richard will be recovered from his time travel, time zone lag thing. What'd you think of the convention as a whole today?
It was good. Terry's show is always an excellent show, and I enjoy coming out here. I enjoy the people, the dealers. I enjoy the fans and the people who frequent here. So great time.
I agree. I got one of the grails I've been looking for years. So good show. And thanks, Richard. Thanks all of you. We'll see you next time.
Thank you. Everybody, stay safe.